World leaders are meeting in a Cornish resort for the G7 summit. But what is the G7 and who's invited? Here's NTD's Jane Werrell with more.
There's an extra 5,000 police officers at this small seaside town in Cornwall, but it's a normal amount of security for a meeting of the G7 leaders. So what is the G7? It stands for the Group of Seven. It includes the UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and the United States. You might be thinking it used to be the G8, but Russia was excluded 7 years ago for its takeover of Crimea. The informal group was founded in 1975 in response to the 1973 oil crisis. The EU isn't an official member, but EU representatives attend. Boris Johnson also invited leaders from Australia, India, South Africa and South Korea. So what do they actually do? They talk about international issues. Topics this time include pandemic recovery, climate change and trade, as well as China and Russia. At the end of the summit, the host country will publish a document that shows what they've agreed. It won't be legally binding, but it can have global influence. Jane Werrell, NTD News.
The coming G7 summit puts St Ives under the spotlight of the world, but it also brings disruptions to local businesses. Some company owners say the event has had a massive impact on their business and they've lost lots of money.
With just hours before world leaders descend on Cornwall for the G7 summit, residents of the coastal town of St Ives are concerned about the gathering's impact on their lives and businesses. Owner of St Ives Boat Rides, Megan Steeds, says, "It's great that the world's leaders coming to St Ives, but the impact on her business is detrimental and there is not compensation."
We've had so many cancellations, it's having a massive impact on our business. Normally at this time of year we would be absolutely packed and we'd be fully booked all day long, and it's just not happened.
Residents and tourists have been told to expect disruption or avoid the area over the next week, starving the tourist town of much-needed footfall. Skiff master James Tanner says only half of his fleet is working and they have to operate in a restricted zone.
I thought it'd be bad. Yeah, I thought it'd be bad, but it's a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. So, I don't really know. Lost loads of money, and it's just a nightmare for us working down there.
Train stations, roads and footpaths near Carbis Bay Hotel and Tregenna Castle, where the summit will be held, are closed. More than 5,000 police officers from across the country have been deployed to the area. The G7 will be the first in-person meeting of leaders of major developed economies for nearly 2 years.
Cornish people are welcoming world leaders to the G7 summit with Cornish food, a Cornish castle and even Cornish songs. A local group of sea shanty singers say they are glad of such a fantastic opportunity.
She was a charming rover.
Strolling down the Prince of Wales Pier in Falmouth, local sea shanty group Briar's Boys belt out a rendition of the traditional Cornish song Lamorna to the delight of onlookers.
Her eyes they shone like diamonds and the evening it was.
We are
Briar's Boys
and we sing Cornish traditional and sea shanties.
The 11 men specialise in the traditional seafaring songs. It was the group's first live performance since March 2020. They rewrote traditional sea shanty, A Drop of Nelson's Blood, to a G7 theme.
4 leaders to meet wouldn't do them any harm.
4 leaders to meet wouldn't do them any harm.
Well, having the G7 sited here in Cornwall is a fantastic opportunity. There's so many things that could capitalise on that. The businesses, the maritime industries, the hospitality, but also the entertainment, an opportunity for people to plug into the culture of Cornwall.
Sea shanties are traditional songs sung by miners, mariners and fishermen. They regained popularity during the lockdown.
And suddenly people think, yeah, we like these sea shanties. They're not just for old fogies sitting down making nets on a wharf side. And so we've been doing it for a while.
Briar's Boys' performance at next week's virtual International Sea Shanty Festival will be streamed online. Brooks is also looking forward to a return of live performances soon.
We do it because we love it. It's a passion for all of us. We enjoy singing, we enjoy performing and putting smiles on people's faces. And as I say, it's a job for life. There's no escape.
So hoist up the John B. sail, see how the mainsail sails.
Good news for Danish football fans as Denmark ditches face masks and is welcoming more fans to Euro 2020 matches.
Just in time for the European Football Championship, Denmark is lifting more pandemic restrictions. In a deal reached among most parties of Parliament, the Nordic country will ditch the use of face masks and allow more football fans to attend matches. Masks will no longer be mandatory from the 14th of June, except for standing passengers on public transport. And from Friday, restaurants and bars are allowed to gradually extend their opening hours. A total of 25,000 fans will be allowed to visit Euro 2020 matches taking place in Copenhagen. That's up from around 16,000. Though the Danish Football Association says the increase will not apply to the first match on Saturday when Denmark meets Finland. The Danish team is also set to meet Belgium and Russia at the Parken Stadium. Euro 2020 was postponed by a year due to the pandemic and will begin on Friday with the opening match in Rome between Italy and Turkey.
A Russian court on Wednesday outlawed groups linked to jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny after declaring them extremist, a move that bans his allies from elections and will further strain US-Russia ties before a closely watched summit.
A Russian court banned any groups linked to Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny after declaring them extremist on Wednesday. The move bans his allies from elections and comes just days before US President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin are due to hold talks in Geneva. Washington has called for Navalny to be freed and has condemned the recent court decision, but the Kremlin says it is a domestic matter and for the US not to interfere. After a hearing that lasted more than 12 hours behind closed doors, Moscow's prosecutors accused Navalny and his allies of trying to foment a revolution by seeking to destabilize the socio-political situation inside Russia. A spokesperson for the prosecutors, Alexei Zathirov, spoke about Navalny's network outside the court.
This organization has regularly organized unauthorized mass public events, which frequently have ended with mass unrest.
Navalny and his allies denied the allegations and said they were an attempt to try to crush any opposition to the ruling party ahead of parliamentary elections in September. The authorities now have the power to jail activists and freeze their bank accounts if they continue their activities. The ruling also targets Navalny's anti-corruption foundation, which has produced high-profile investigations into alleged official corruption. Over the years, Navalny has built up a vast political network that sought to challenge Putin's grip on power. In a post on Navalny's Instagram account, apparently drafted in anticipation of what was a widely expected ruling, Navalny urged his supporters to not be disheartened. The message read, "We're not going anywhere."
President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to hold their 16th of June summit in an 18th century Swiss villa overlooking Lake Geneva in Switzerland. The classic building is in the city's largest park, dotted with redwood trees, rose bushes and ancient fountains, and now lined with barricades and barbed wire. Ongoing disputes over election interference, cyber attacks, human rights and Ukraine will weigh on the meeting. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will accompany Biden and Putin. In the Cold War era, President Ronald Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev held their first summit in Geneva. And in other news, a new concrete pathway on Greece's ancient monument, the Acropolis, allows wheelchair access. But it's drawing criticism from politicians and academics who say the pathway ruins the classical aesthetics of the site.
The Acropolis in Athens has a new concrete pathway to facilitate wheelchair access, and some people are not happy about it. The UNESCO World Heritage Site attracts thousands of visitors a day in peak periods, most of whom climb their 160-metre hill on foot and wander on uneven stone paths worn smooth over hundreds of years. The new concrete track is laid over a synthetic membrane that protects the ancient stones underneath and permits easy removal. But critics say it ruins the classical harmony of the ancient site. Opposition leader Alexei last month demanded the Conservative government stop abusing our cultural heritage. Cultural Minister Lina Mendoni defended the development.
I've seen people in wheelchairs who came up here for the first time and felt happy. I think this is something that should also make us particularly happy, because to give joy to people is perhaps just as significant as the protection of our cultural goods.
Visitors like Michael Kirk had positive feelings about the development.
I still think the Acropolis is very beautiful and it is amazing. I think it's cool that now everyone can see it. I don't think it's changed. I don't think it's hurt the Acropolis at all.
Other changes made to improve accessibility include a new elevator and golf carts, and there are plans to allow blind people a fuller experience of the monument.
A dog in a village in the Arctic almost died after it strayed too far from home and got lost on the ice. Luckily, it was spotted by a Russian icebreaker.
Дружись, ты чё пришел?
A fluffy dog was rescued in the Arctic by Russian sailors. It had wandered from its home village and got lost on the sea ice. A Russian icebreaker was working near the gates of the Arctic terminal when its crew noticed the dog. The animal could have gotten hurt by moving ships, so sailors decided to rescue it.
We investigated all the possibilities of lifting the animal from the ice and placed a ceremonial ladder which the dog used to get on board.
The ship owner said the dog had no chance of returning to the shore, and it could have died since the ice had already begun to drift and crack. The crew used mobile communications to find the dog owner, and a few hours later the animal was safely returned to its village. It turned out the dog owner was looking for one-year-old Eka for more than a week.
When they showed me the video, I did not recognize her at first. She looked so unhappy, all covered with ice, and she did not walk well.
She said the dog hurt its paws on the sharp ice and was unable to walk properly. The injuries were later healed.
If you are watching on Sky TV 190 or Freeview 271, we have some news for you. For Monday 13th of June, NTD UK News will broadcast at 9 p.m. That's the news for today, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Stuart Lees.